The Fox Who Wrote in Sand. In a quiet village nestled among the cliffs and red earth of the Dogon country in West Africa, there lived a special girl named Amina. Amina was born mute. She could not speak, but her eyes were bright and curious, always watching the world with a quiet kind of wonder. Villagers loved her gentle spirit, even if they sometimes wondered how she understood so much without uttering a single word. Alongside Amina lived her grandmother, an elder known for her deep knowledge of the land, the stars, and the old ways. She told stories of the ancestors, of spirits who spoke through the rustling leaves, the patterns of the sand, and the distant call of birds. In this land, long before clocks or calendars, people learned to read the world around them, to listen carefully to signs others might overlook. It was a time long ago in a world where nature and people were tightly woven together. The day began with the soft light of dawn, when the air was cool and the village was still half asleep. This is when Amina's story truly begins. Every morning, before anyone else stirred, Amina would walk to the riverbank. There, she would sit quietly and watch the sand beneath her feet. The river's edge was always changing, sometimes calm, sometimes wild, and the sand held stories. But Amina didn't just look at the sand, she read it. Not with words, but with a deep kind of listening that went beyond sound. She could see the marks left by the wind, the footprints of animals, the tiny ripples of water, and most importantly, the tracks left by the fishers' boats. You see, in Dogon belief, the world speaks to those who listen. The sand, the sky, the trees, they all tell stories about what is coming next. This way of knowing is called divination, not just predicting the future, but hearing it, feeling it, understanding it before it arrives. One morning, as the first golden rays touched the earth, Amina noticed something unusual. The tracks in the sand were different, deeper, hurried, and scattered. The sky seemed to hold a quiet tension, and the river's flow whispered warnings she could somehow sense. To others, it might have seemed like nothing, but Amina felt it clearly. A storm was coming, a fierce one that would turn the river wild and dangerous. The fishers who depended on the river for their daily catch were usually the first to set out at dawn, but today they were preparing to go as if nothing was wrong. Amina's grandmother, noticing her granddaughter's concern, asked what was wrong. Amina pointed urgently to the sand and the river, trying to show what she had seen. Because Amina could not speak, the grandmother decided to trust her silent wisdom. Together, they went to the fishing boats and warned the fishers to stay ashore. At first, the fishers were doubtful. The sky was still bright and the water calm. But the grandmother's calm certainty and Amina's urgent gestures convinced them to wait. Sure enough, by midday, dark clouds gathered, the winds howled, and a strong storm swept through the valley. The fishers who had listened were safe, while others who had gone out were caught in the wild river and had to fight hard to return. After the storm passed, the village gathered. They looked at Amina differently now. Her silent watching had saved lives. That night, as the village shared stories around the fire, something miraculous happened. Amina found her voice. She spoke her first words, soft but clear, telling the story of the sand and the river, of the warning she had heard before the storm. The villagers celebrated, not just because Amina could speak, but because they realized something important. Sometimes listening is more powerful than speaking. Gifts can emerge in unexpected ways, especially when we pay attention to the world around us with care and patience. Amina's story reminds us that everyone has a voice, even if it isn't loud or fast. Sometimes it is the quiet ones who see the future first, who teach us how to listen deeply and act wisely. And sometimes, just sometimes, the tracks left in the sand tell us more than any words ever could. So next time you find yourself watching the world in silence, remember Amina and the fox who wrote in sand. The future is often written not with ink or letters, but with the footprints we choose to follow, and the wisdom to read them before the dawn.